Hey there, I am back with the top 12 decks of 2023. It's that time of year when I get a chance to look back on all the decks I picked up in the last year and highlight the best of the best. These are the ones that inspired my collection more than any other in the past 12 months. Now, that said, it's really tough to limit things down to just 12 decks. In fact, I have a few honorable mention because I couldn't limit it to just 12. But I'd love to know down in the comments where you think I got it wrong. What were your personal favorite decks of the year? Now, all that said, without any further ado though, let's get into my list. And we kick off the honorable mention with the 52 Plus Joker 2023 Club Deck. This has become a staple every year. 52 Plus Joker, as part of their convention, does a club deck each year, and they've worked with some of the best designers anywhere. Now, while they've done previous decks with designers like Lautrec, Jackson Robinson, Uzi, and Lorenzo, for this year they picked one that maybe is a little bit less known to newer entrants into playing cards, and that's Brendan Hong. He's known for decks like Dynasty and Hive in the past, but he's been relatively inactive. But I love the return deck here with the club deck. Really beautiful two-part tuck case, the outer tuck box in white and silver here with that kind of quilted texture. And then as you slide it open, you get the black and silver tuck box on the inside. A great contrast and just a really classy look to it overall. And the cards, just beautifully done and illustrated as well. Starting with that back design with the brilliant silver on it and that great interlocking line work. And then the faces of the card features just some really fun, vibrant artwork. I love the whimsy in this one, definitely not taking itself too seriously by any means. And you can see in the quartz, they almost feature that kind of cartoonish look that to me just really helps this deck stand out, really kind of gives it a new life as opposed to kind of a more standard deck of cards. It's a really fun deck overall. It even features little Easter eggs like the 52 that's hidden in the Jack's clothing here. Just a really great deck and one of my favorites in the 52 Plus Joker line. And that's really saying something. There's some fantastic decks overall, but this one really just sort of stands out as one of the more unique offerings. The second of the honorable mentions comes from one that we all know and love, and that's Lautrec and Oath playing cards. And for this one, we have the Golden Rule Players Edition. There's actually going to be an even fancier version of this deck that's done for the Patreon, but the Players Edition definitely no slouch. Features beautiful foiling and embossing in multiple colors, the gold and the red here on that black tuck box. Just a great look to it overall. And it's a deck that's actually inspired by a vintage deck done by Dondorf. It's a Shakespeare deck from decades ago, and one that's given all new, kind of a more modernized life by Lautrec. You can definitely still see a lot of classic vibes in the cards. Those beautiful gold metallics mixed with the reds and the blues and the card backs just look fantastic. And then as you turn to the cards, you'll see some stuff that's very familiar sort of Lautrec territory on these, including those architectural elements on the sides, that ornate ace of spades, and that super fancy calligraphy style font done for the pips in the or for the indice in the corner, as well as those two-tone pips that are definitely a hallmark of so many of his decks. But my favorite part of this one has got to be the quartz. These again are reimagined from the original Dondorf deck, and they are beautifully illustrated, bringing the characters to life and kind of modernizing them with much cleaner art style than the original. Really just beautiful illustrations all around, including this King of Diamonds, my favorite in the deck. Beautiful style to these, nice, bright, vibrant colors all around, and just a really great deck and a tribute to a classic. And then my third of the honorable mentions, this is Aquatic Kingdoms from Relentless Venture. A little bit lesser known compared to the other two of a designer, but a real talent and relatively new. So very excited to see what else they come up with. But for this one, it's an underwater theme with a giant octopus, beautiful red foiling on this one. And this one really seeks to explore some of the kingdoms of the depths. This, in fact, is called the Atlantis version, and it's kind of a journey into the kingdoms of Atlantis. Beautiful styling in this one, and the foil is used to just such great effect to combine with those blues and blacks on the tuck box. And the cards use that same color scheme and do so really, really nicely. Octopi are always going to look great on a deck. Those tentacles really kind of give some organic life to the cards overall. And the while it's relatively small color palette that's done on these, just the blues and the reds, it really pops beautifully with the artwork on this one. Great swirling bits of water, waves, the bubbles, and the animals on here all combine to form this this deck that just, it feels so organic and yet full of life. I love the court cards, in particular those serene faces that are sort of intertwined with some of the sea life. Just a beautiful look at some of the characters or the royalty that you might find at the bottom of the sea. Really cool deck, just a fun design overall and a great theme, and a great one to close out our honorable mentions for 2023. But that said, we still got to get into the top 12, so let's dive right into it. At number 12 is the Cursed and the Crooked from Marianne Larson. Now, Marianne's fast becoming one of my favorite designers in playing cards, and you'll see why as we get into the court cards on this one. This deck is inspired by a fairy tale story of a baron who becomes cursed and finds himself consumed by a forest come to life. It's a beautiful deck overall. The tuck box actually relatively simple, almost like the cover of a storybook, but it does feature some really nice foiling on this one. I'm not a big fan of the words on the back of this one, but again, kind of in keeping with this being a little bit like a book cover, I guess it kind of fits. But where this one really makes its mark is once you open things up and you get to the cards inside. And right away from the back design, you get an explosion of detail as you find your way into the middle of the forest. And as you make your way around this back design, you'll see some of the characters just peeking their way out, almost like you're venturing into the forest and those characters are just hidden in the backdrop, just waiting to be found. Beautiful borderless back design, and the artwork on the cards is just phenomenal. I love the black and white styling on this one, and you can see just the true talent and the artistry that goes into these and things like this diptych Joker. Just a beautiful look to it overall. So much detail and so much talent that went into these. And in particular, as you get to the core cards, you can see some of those characters, some good, some evil, that you might find in this cursed forest. You can just see why this deck is so easy to love. I can't get enough of the artwork and the sort of stories that are behind here. It's a really great deck and just features some of the most amazing artwork that you'll see on any deck. Marianne, truly talented, and just such a high level of detail that she puts into her court cards and the back designs. Really just a fantastic deck overall and a great way to kick things off in the top 12. But let's keep moving along. Theory 11's definitely become more known for their licensed decks like Star Wars, Harry Potter, or the Avengers, but the number 11 deck on the countdown, Sembres, reminds us that they have some phenomenal original decks in their line as well. And this is one of the best that I've seen in a long time. Beautiful tuck box. It's ornate without being ostentatious. Nice, kind of reserved hits of gold foil, just enough to accent this fantastic artwork. Beautiful embossing and a great color palette with those yellows and the cream colors. Really gives it kind of a vintage vibe that they're going for with the deck. It's inspired by the story of a distillery down in Mexico, and you can definitely see some of the Mayan or Incan inspired artwork brought to life through the borders here on the tuck box and everything. As you open it up, nice gold interior foiling and beautiful cards as well. Sometimes Theory 11's knocked for having cards that don't live up to the tuck, but I think these do. Really nice kind of classic feeling back design. Love the incorporation of the coins here, as well as that artwork, again reminiscent of the Mayan or the Incan style. And the cards, I love the art choices on these. Very much inspired by the style of old Mexican painters, and I think these look just really great. Very simple, not going over the top with the cards, keeping this a nice usable deck. But as you get into the courts here, you'll see just some fun, unique characters that you might find around the distillery. I think everything works so well on this one. The sort of muted color palette, I think, works fantastically. Overall, just a great deck. Probably not since Prohibition have I seen a fully original deck from Theory 11 that lived up to Sembres. I think this is just a great deck and really shows what Theory 11's capable of when they step out of those typical licensed decks. Love this deck. Hope to see more original decks from Theory 11 in the future because they definitely have the chops to pull off some great ones. But let's get into the top 10 now. Number 10 on the countdown is Escape Velocity from designer Vitaly Sinkovic and produced by Montensi. This is a fantastic deck. I love space decks. I'm really partial to them to begin with, and this one is one of my favorite. Bright, vibrant colors right off the bat with the reds and the oranges here on the tuck box. Nice hit of the gold foil to bring that astronaut helmet there in the center of the life. And as you open things up, little peek there of a fantastic back design. Get that space pattern in the back, and then the cards themselves are beautiful. There's that back design again. Love the swirl, the line work, the use of the rockets here taking off, and then the flames there in the middle. Just a really bright, vibrant, and super lively back design. And the artwork on the cards is fantastic as well. I love the color palette chosen on these. That kind of muted color scheme really, I think, works well, but still vibrant at the same time, and a great way to highlight some of the artwork on this one. The pips are great as well. You get the stars there as the backdrop for the spades, for example. And the court cards, I love on these. The purples, the blues, and the oranges, I think are just the right hue to bring this to life and yet not be kind of overpowering. Just a great selection, and the characters all inspired by some of those who may be part of the space program. It's a great deck overall, and like I said, I'm always going to be partial to space themes, but this one is, even amongst space decks, one of my favorites. The cards, the court cards are great, the back design is phenomenal, and it has a fun, bright, vibrant tuck box to go with it. Overall, just a really fun deck of cards, and one worth anybody picking up, whether you're into space decks or not. But that is the number 10 deck in the countdown, meaning we've got 9 more to go, so let's keep things moving. It was a relatively quiet year for Stockholm 17 and designer Lorenzo, especially when you compare it to last year when he produced the fantastic Eye of the Ocean series. But that doesn't mean there's no Stockholm 17 decks to be found. In fact, one of my favorite this year is number 9 on the list, the 17th Kingdom Avant-Garde. It's a beautiful deck. If you saw the experimental version, you saw the first version of this unique hourglass style tuck box, but this is where I think it really gets perfected. Beautiful, unique look to it, and I love the quality of the tuck box here overall. Beautiful gold foiling. The original experimental version of this one was super hard to open. This one's still a little bit difficult with that wrap style to open, but significantly improved off the original. You can flip things open here and get to the also unique hourglass shaped cards inside. I particularly like the red edge printing on this one. Beautiful color that mixes nicely with the relatively monochrome back designs on these. And the artwork on the jokers and the court cards is top notch on these. We know that Lorenzo does fantastic court cards, and these are no exception. Beautiful, stern looking characters who just bring everything to life, even though there's a, I guess I'd call it a relatively limited amount of space for the court cards. They're kind of crunched in a little bit relative to your normal court cards, but these are just absolutely beautiful. They fit into that hourglass shape just beautifully, and overall I think just helps that hourglass to feel a little bit less like a gimmick and more like a designed deck of cards. Overall, this is a fantastic deck, and a great to see just a little bit of experimentation in playing cards and going with something like this hourglass shape and this really unique tuck wrap to go with it. But there you go with the number 9 deck and 17th Kingdom Avant-Garde. Let's keep going. Number 8 on my list features a collaboration between the Gentleman Wake and artist Kevin Cantrell. The Gentleman Wake decks have always been ornate and over-the-top decks, coming in tons of different versions. The successor actually came in, I believe it's 6 or 7 different versions, but for my list, I've chosen the Imperial Black edition of the deck. Now, Kevin Cantrell, one of my favorite artists, and I think his ornate style is a great fit for the Gentleman Wake, and you can really see the skill and the artistry on the tuck box here. I love this scene on the front with the successor, and then the image of the king being crowned by the clergyman there in the center. Just a beautiful bit of foil work done on this one. Multiple colors of foil to give this tuck box one of the more ornate feels that you'll find anywhere. And the cards are absolutely beautiful as well. Kevin Cantrell, super known for the amount of detail that he puts into his cards, and you can see it in full force on these foiled back designs. Tons of detail all the way around. great use of colors, and that black and gold, just a great combination together. The faces as well, you get the Jokers there with beautiful artwork of their own and that full foiling, and then foil accents all the way throughout the deck that help bring every single card to life. In particular, Kevin Contrell's pips are absolutely outstanding. And then while the court cards are, I guess I would call them relatively standard, they still feature some nice custom touches to help bring them to the next level. And of course, more of those foil accents to really amp up the luxury. You may notice 2 different colors of foil on these, not just gold, but also little hits of silver foil as well. It's a super ambitious deck with tons of luxury touches, and overall, just a great effort from one of my favorite artists out there. Kevin Cantrell really knocked it out of the park, I think, with this deck. And kudos to Omar and the Gentleman Wake for producing yet another fantastic deck for the line with Successor. But let's keep things rolling as we get into deck number 7. Tons of designers have started putting out mini decks, and usually they're just smaller versions of the regular deck, but it's really refreshing when you see the form brought to life in a really creative way. And that's what we see here with deck number 7 on the countdown, Flea Circus from Art of Play. It's a kind of a tribute to the classic Flea circuses, and so of course, with fleas being so tiny, we need a tiny deck to go with them. And I love the incorporation of the theme into the size of the deck, featuring the smaller than usual deck, of course, for the smaller than usual theme. Beautiful sort of vintage style artwork, definitely kind of feels inspired by old classic circus posters, and the cards inside are a lot of fun as well. You get the ticket style there for the back design, and on the cards, every single one of them features one of the fictional acts that you may find for the fleas performing in the circus, like the unicycle flea here, who's juggling balls, or you've got the high wire axe. Every single one of the cards, so not just court cards, but all the way through the deck, you get a whole mixture of fun, vibrant characters that you might find in this fictional flea circus. I love the whimsy of this one. I love the fun. And for me, like I said, it's just really cool to see the small deck format used in such a creative way. Really great deck, phenomenal deck, and the best of the year from Art of Play for sure, and well worth a spot on that top 12 list. But let's keep things going. We have a third way sighting. At number 6 is Incubo from designer Giovanni Moroni. Now, I love the lore that goes into third way decks. That's why he's one of my favorite designers out there. And in particular, this one feels intensely personal for Gio. It's a story of a traveler through a land of nightmares, and the court cards feature some of those nightmares in physical form. It's a beautiful and inspired deck, and it comes in this really unique feeling tuck box. That matte yellow foil with the black really gives this a unique texture and a unique look overall. I think it's a great mixture. I love the brightness of that yellow foil. And as you get into the cards inside as well, more hits of just intense color. That yellow and black just pops so well in the card back design. The raven there in the cage, one of the main themes of the deck. And the cards are super bright and loud as well. Love the reds, the yellows, and the black, and the kind of chaotic feel this whole thing lends, almost like you're walking through the land of nightmares yourself. And of course, like any third way deck, the main highlight is going to be those court cards and that journey through the land of nightmares. Every one of the cards has a story. These one-way court cards, I think, are beautiful, and they all kind of tell the story of one of the nightmares that the traveler encounters. I love the artwork on these. I love the vibrancy, and I love the use of one-way courts on these. Really gives you a chance to kind of see things in even larger form than your classic two-way courts. This one definitely feels like a hint or a preview of an upcoming tarot deck of some sort. I don't know if that's true, but I would love to see something like this turned into a tarot deck from Giovanni. I think his style, his art form, and his storytelling ability would really lend itself well to a tarot deck. But overall, this is just a unique feeling, and like I said, very personal feeling deck from Giovanni, just kind of telling the story of his own nightmares and his own struggles throughout the year, throughout his life. I think it's a fantastic deck, a really great addition to one of the best designers in the business, and so very glad to include this one in my top 12 list for the year. But let's see where things fall for the top 5. Number 5 on the list is Cross from Riffle Shuffle. These decks were designed by Peter Voth, who's a relative newcomer, but really made a name for himself in 2023, and decks like Cross are exactly why. It's a beautiful religious themed deck that follows the story of some of the martyrs of the church, those who sacrificed their lives for their faith. It's a beautiful deck. This is the Golden Grace edition, probably my favorite of the bunch. The black combined with the holographic foil as well as that gold just gives a really striking appearance to this one. That cross in the center and the super ornate details all the way around. It's a beautiful deck overall. Peter Voth is just a tremendously talented artist, and you can tell that this was a really meaningful theme to him overall. A lot of effort went into this one. The foiled back design really showcases those details beautifully. You can see themes like the angels or the lion and the lamb laying together. Beautiful religious highlights to really help bring the theme to life. And as you turn to the cards, you'll see some just phenomenal artwork on these. Super detailed, nice little details in the pips as well. And the court cards, like I said, follow some of the modern martyrs. You'll see characters that are familiar, characters like Martin Luther King Jr., but then others that you really have to dive into the stories to learn more about. And for me, that's really what it's all about. I love kind of going into the story of some of the characters, but overall, the illustration style is just stunning on these. The detail with that stained glass inspired pattern in the back or the shading of the characters in the foreground, just a fantastic deck. Hard to believe that Peter Voth is just getting started in the industry, but with a start like this, got to check out a lot of his work going forward. I think he's going to be one of my favorite designers pretty quickly here. So a great job on Cross. If this is a deck you haven't checked out, highly recommend it. Just a fantastic effort from Riffle Shuffle and Peter Voth. But let's keep things rolling with the top 4. At number 4, we have one of the most creative and interesting decks of the year with Phantasma. In particular, we have the Phantasma Duplex edition here. It's a beautiful deck that's inspired, of course, with its own bit of lore, the story of ghost hunters, but you'll see what makes this deck so unique once we get to the inside. Of course, the tuck box, beautifully done with that pearlescent stock and that electric blue foil. Love the colors on this one. That azure foil just really shines and gives a nice glow to this one overall. And this one also features matching gilding. The gilding color on this one, I love that blue style. You don't see that too often, but I think it's a really great ethereal look to it overall. And the foil on the back designs as well. So overall, just some great luxury touches on this one. But then as you turn to the face cards, on the face of it, it looks a little bit disappointing. They're blank cards basically, but it's not until you get a black light that the real magic of its deck reveals itself. See, under a black light, these blank cards burst to life. All the details on these done in UV inks. It's such a unique touch and one that I've never seen used to quite this effect, to go from completely blank cards to all that design work just revealed with UV. Super sharp use of the UV on these, and that's really the only way to see the details of the deck. I love the creativity of it. It's a fun deck. This is one that I've been able to show my family, even those who don't collect playing cards, and this is an easy one to appreciate overall. You actually get 2 different colors of the UV ink, so as you go to the red cards, you'll see more of that red UV ink on there, and then the blue UV ink on the black cards. It's just such a fun deck overall, and one that is well worth having in any collection. In fact, I actually got an uncut sheet of these, which I think is a lot of fun to have, a blank uncut sheet that then suddenly pops to light when you shine the UV light on it. Overall, really fun, unique concept, and a great way to make use of that UV technology like never before. But just shy of the medal stand, we've got the top 3 to go, so let's keep things rolling. In bronze medal position, Marianne Larson makes a return with the second deck in the countdown and sideshow playing cards. This deck is one that was a bit of a surprise, kind of released out of nowhere for me. This is to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Isolated Thunderstorm, and it is a beautiful deck in keeping with her phenomenal Circus deck from a couple years ago. This one kind of continues the story, takes a look at some of the sideshow acts that would be part of that circus. Beautiful tuck box overall, great kind of textured feel to it, and beautiful cards inside as well. Love how the interior of the tuck box kind of gives you a look of like the entrance to a fun house with that full color scene that continues all the way through the tuck. And the cards on this one are absolutely beautiful. I mentioned with Kirsten the Crooked, just what a great artist Marianne is, and you can really see the diversity in her styles here. This sort of vintage Victorian style to the back design of the cards with the almost like a big top there in the center. Beautiful borderless design, great fanning deck. And then as you get into the cards, really cool look to them overall as well. The Diptych Joker, of course, always a welcome addition. And then as you get into the cards, nice kind of classic style to them, but it's really, yet again, the court cards that really do it for me. One-way courts that are all kind of the look of a poster for a sideshow act. You'll see like the fortune teller there, the strong man, and any number of other characters that you might find in the creepy circus. In particular, that creepy clown there, one of my favorite cards in the deck. Just a great look to these overall, great variety and liveliness to the characters, and overall just a really fun deck from Marianne. It's a great tribute to 5 years from one of the best playing card designers in the world, in my opinion, and just a fantastic deck. Like I said, didn't know this deck was coming, and when it popped out of nowhere, could not have been happier. Really great deck, and one I highly recommend picking up if you didn't already. But we've got 2 more decks to go, so let's keep things going and see what the final 2 are. If you've never seen a Jack Brutus Penny deck, you are in for a treat with my number 2 deck, Nazo Nazo. This one is the Portfolio 52 deck, and this is the Onsen version of the deck. This was actually the Kickstarter exclusive. Jack's artwork is known for being super ornate, detailed, tons to look at every facet of the deck. This particular one, like I said, Kickstarter exclusive, and you can see right off the bat some of the beautiful details in the artwork style, the steam here rising up in the form of these tendrils of a holographic foil, beautiful cutouts giving you a peek of the cards inside. Multiple versions of the deck, but this one's definitely my favorite of the bunch. Beautiful color palettes on these, bright, vibrant, tons of color, and as you open it up, no detail left to chance. This one really kind of pays homage to Jack's love of animals throughout the deck, and right off the bat, that back design, you can see so much going on. The animals there in the boats in the water as they kind of splash through the waves, the beautiful hits of the foil there that just give this one extra little bit of shine. Great detail on this one and so much to look at. And as you go through the cards, you'll see some of the animals, in particular cats, all throughout the Nazo Nazo guest house. Beautiful look to them overall. I love the design work on this one. I love the level of detail, and this whole thing actually forms a puzzle. You can take this whole thing, lay everything out in the right order, and this all interlocks to form an entire gigantic scene. And it's that sort of attention to detail that you really don't get from any designer other than Jack. His artwork is unique, distinctive. It's like nothing else I've ever seen before. Now, I will admit, not the most usable deck if you wanted to use this for gameplay or something like that, but if you're a fan of artwork, and especially this Japanese style artwork, you will not find anybody, in my opinion, doing it better than Jack Brutus Penny. Just a fantastic deck, so full of life. I cannot get enough of this deck, and this is one you could go through this 100 times and continue to find things. There's puzzles within, there's little plays on words, all just hidden bits and pieces all throughout the deck. With a deck this detailed, you will have trouble ever finding all of the little details that are hidden within it. It's a fantastic design, a great tribute to Portfolio 52, and a great tribute to his love of animals. Just a phenomenal deck through and through, and one that I cannot say enough about. You know, like I said, I am a big fan of Jack Brutus Penny. His decks are some of my favorites, and Nazo Nazo, he's really taken it to the next level. Love this deck, but believe it or not, there is still one deck that beats it. So what's deck number 1? Let's find out. Well, we have arrived at number 1, and my deck of the year for 2023 is Under the Moon from Yoku Playing Cards. I love the work that Alessandra does in her just beautiful, distinctive style. And for this one, she went into the animal kingdom for a deck inspired by some of the lore of the animals of the world. This is the Midnight Edition of Under the Moon, in my opinion, the best of the trio, and it is a fantastic looking deck through and through. Great foils and embossing on the Bashir and Newton tuck box. Beautiful look to it overall. The colors in this one are phenomenal. Love the sort of fun little animal footprints on the interior foiling as well. And the cards are truly striking. Full cold foiling on the back gives you that nice shine with the fun little detail in the artwork here, the Triskeal with the rabbits chasing each other in the center. And then the cards feature just some outstanding artwork. Usually, Alessandra draws humans. She doesn't often draw animals, but I gotta say, her work on these is just really top notch. I love the addition of the little footprints here on the pips. Keeps things nice and usable, but gives you that fun little touch on the number cards that I think are just, bring a lot of whimsy to the deck. But it's really the court cards that jump out more than anything. Each one of them featuring a different animal and aspects on here that hint at some of the lore that surrounds these animals as they appear through cultures throughout the years. It's a really fun, vibrant deck, and one that, for me, just worth finding out as much as you can about every one of the characters that are included in the deck. There's lots of fun stories, not to mention some beautiful cards, including this King of Clubs, one of the most beautiful court cards that I've seen this year. Just a really great look with the deer there, with the leaves and the antlers, just a really great colorful look. Some of them are, great, beautiful looking cards like this. Some of them are almost kind of funny cards like the salmon here with the glasses, or the fortune-telling seal here. Just a great deck through and through. And if you get all 3 versions of the deck, you get completely new courts for each one. It's worth picking up the entire series. I suppose if you're going to pick up one, the Midnight Edition here is probably my favorite, but I think the entire series is worth a look. This is, without a doubt, my top deck of the year. I think Alessandra and Anthony with Yoku did a tremendous job with this deck. One of the best they've ever done, and that's really saying something because I love the work Yoku's done. But that is it. That is deck number 1, closing out this year's top 12 list. Well, there you have it, my top 12 decks for 2023. A great set and so many others I could have chosen from. I love so many decks I picked up this year, but these were my 12 favorite. And make sure to let me know down in the comments what your favorite decks of the year were. I'd love to hear it and kind of discuss what it was that spoke to you the most throughout the year. Really can't wait to see what's in store for 2024. And if you want to see what it is that I pick up over the course of the year, make sure to subscribe for more of my deck reviews. Hope you enjoyed. Really, like I said, let me know what your favorites were. Love to hear it. And I'll see you for the next one.